everyone, Morgan here. I'm with Casey from Coyote Works.
What's up, guys?
We're here in Eastern Oregon, and you know, I don't really know a lot about Eastern Oregon, you know, the trees or anything. So Casey's going to tell me a little bit about some of this stuff. And you ready?
Yeah.
Ready to show off your skills?
So right here we've just come into the very edge of a huge national forest that's here. And the forest around here is really dry. It's high desert. So you'll see a couple of different trees and plants, but one thing to remember is it's beautiful. We have a lot of trees, but we always have the issue in this area with water and finding water. So when you spend a lot of time in the woods here, that ends up being one of your biggest issues is finding water.
So you're saying that there's some runoff here with a little creek, right?
Yeah.
From runoff. And then you said the nearest water was where?
From where we're standing, we're about 2 miles from where there's water in a creek on the surface.
And that's a continually running creek from where?
That one runs year-round, and it runs from up high in the Ochco Mountains.
Okay.
It's fed by springs up high in the mountains.
Okay.
But
Good.
here, this creek we're standing next to is dry right now. And this is the worst time of year for creeks and water out here. This time of year, most things will be dry, and only the main creeks and the springs will have water in them.
Right.
So this is the low-hanging fruit as far as fire starter out here. Anytime you have these coniferous forests like this, and we call it Spanish moss, but it hangs in the air, and because our air is always so dry around here, our relative humidity is really low. Even when we do get a little bit of rain or we have a couple feet of snow on the ground, you can pull this out of the trees and it'll be dry enough to take a spark from a ferro rod and get a fire started.
Did you just take a bite out of that?
Yeah, and you can eat this stuff also if you would like.
I want to try it.
It's not very tasty, but it does have a few little calories and put something in your stomach.
I'll try anything.
Once it absorbs the moisture in your mouth a little bit, you'll start to get a little bit of the flavor of it.
You mean the dirt flavor?
It's an acquired taste.
You're right. You know what? I'm starving. I'll pick all this off and just eat it all. I don't care. That's not bad, actually.
I'll a lot of times put a little bit of it in my mouth and chew it because it stimulates the saliva in the mouth.
It really did. Wow. That's interesting. I like it. I didn't know you could eat it. Cool. What else can you eat?
I don't know if you'd want to very often, but
if I'm, like I said, if I'm starving to death, I'm gonna. I can't find nothing else.
If we find some, I'll show you the tastiest snack out here.
Let's find some of that. Here you go. There's some good pitch. Yeah.
And these hard nodules of it, like this, they're hard now, but you can kind of break them up into a powder and like put that powder in with a little bit of that Spanish moss, and it'll make the flame burn stronger and longer.
Is that easy to open?
Well, it's actually hard, so you can kind of crush this up, and it'll kind of crush into a powder.
Gotcha.
It's just a dried nodule of the pitch, whereas
yeah.
like this stuff here is still moist.
You could still light that.
You can,
for sure.
Yeah. You need some kind of a fibrous material mixed in with it.
Absolutely.
It's hard to get the pitch by itself to just take a spark.
Yeah, definitely. Look at it, it's just covered. So you could take some of the moss and then put it with the sap. Yeah.
Yep. You can take a little bit of this moss and then find some of this pitch.
There you go.
And put that and kind of impregnate the moss with the pitch, and that'll make a really strong burning. The other thing that you can do is if you take a bigger wad of this moss and get a lot of pitch in it, it's good for like a torch or a candle or something that you want to just sit there and burn for a long time with a really hot flame that will withstand a little bit of wind and stuff too.
In the winter you can do fires, right? You can have some fires.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. We usually only have a total fire ban out here in the forest about a month or so out of the year.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Casey was kind enough to outfit me with a firearm while out here. you know, it's a Glock, but you know, beggars can't be choosers, right?
She looks good with that Glock, huh?
Yeah. No, I like it. I like it a lot. I like having protection out here, and thank you very much for allowing me to borrow it. So, well,
maybe since we found one over there by our log, we'll go over there.
Casey's helping me find an ant to eat.
We're on the hunt for food supply.
Yeah. I think this is a really important exercise just in general. You know, whenever you're out in the wilderness or wherever, like find what you can eat. You know, what's edible out here.
Yeah. And in this country, you know, it's pretty dry country, so we don't have as many like wild plant edibles.
Yep.
It's actually kind of the opposite dynamic, that we have a lot of protein sources available, but not a lot of carbohydrate sources.
Huh. We have the moss.
We have the moss.
And then you can make pine needle tea, yeah?
Oh,
Are these good pine
so
needles?
delicious.
Yeah. I just made that recently. So good. Oh, found a good selection. Oh.
They're all hiding. Maybe I've been eating off of this colony for too long and they're starting to adapt. And
oh no, Casey's here.
ant.
So they're carpenter ants, okay?
And we have a couple of different varieties of ants around here. The ones that taste good to eat are the big black carpenter ants.
Okay.
We have another kind of ant we call an army ant that has...
There's some right here.
We have a colony?
There's a couple there, see them?
Oh yeah. Recording, perfect.
Oh, there's. Oh, dang it. They're fast. They're fast. Get over here, you. Yeah, I think you got it. You're getting a deer. Ooh.
What do you think?
Oh my gosh.
Not terrible at all.
So sweet. It really tastes like I just plucked a little blackberry off.
That's so funny you say that. Like, I always feel like, you know how blackberries have those little nodules all over them? Like, I feel like it's like biting one of those nodules off a blackberry.
Legit like that. And I didn't just switch it out, okay? You saw. Cool, carpenter ants. I'm pleasantly surprised. Very good.
So the carpenter ants are the larger black ants, and those are the ones that are good. We also have an ant called an army ant that has half of its body is red and half of its body is black.
Okay.
Those do not taste good. And then we have an ant we call a fire ant that's solid red, and those ones are not good either.
Yeah, you don't those like bite or pinch?
They
or
do,
something?
and they have a little bit of venom in them too.
Yeah.
When trees get scarred, then all the sap comes to the surface, so places like something scarred this tree a long time ago and removed the bark, so all of this wood in here is just going to be
that wood
impregnated with pitch.
Yep.
And a lot of times I'll just take my axe and make a cut there and a cut there.
You
Just
can smell it.
It
smells good.
And then look how much pitch there is here.
Cool.
Like, that's a lot.
Nice.
And you can mix that with like some ash from the fire and make actually a pretty decent glue out of it.
Oh yeah. Okay, so the moss is good, but all this moss.
Right.
Yeah, let's get over here. But the bright green stuff,
Right.
not good.
The bright green is the wolf lichen,
And it's toxic.
and it has toxins in it.
Yeah.
But I was going to show you what the highest best purpose for this moss is actually, you have to be pretty crafty. It's the way that you put it together. But it's technically The Yosemite Sam.
Hey!
That's the highest survival purpose.
That's the best survival purpose, yes. I'm pretty sure that's the only.
Because loneliness really gets to you out here, so you need like fun things to do.
That'll do it. Yeah, we tracked this where the spring from the runoff came. It's really, really dry down there, but you come up here and you can still see watery mud patches. You can dig down a little and definitely get some water. Yeah, look at that. Oh yeah. Lots of good water.
Yeah.
You know, purified obviously. Oh, look at that.
This is literally the spot where it comes out of the ground.
Yeah. Yep. Perfect.
It's a nice little patch of it here.
Found some nice soft leaves. So what, nature's toilet paper?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
That's what we call it around here. This is the mullein leaves, and we call it nature's toilet paper.
Perfect.
And then everything you're seeing kind of from here all the way that way is just
wilderness.
miles and miles and miles, probably, 150 miles of mountains. And
I just want to run out there and explore it all.
yeah.
Cool. So thanks so much for joining us on our adventure of Eastern Oregon. Thanks so much to Casey from Coyote Works. Thank you so much for showing me around.
Yeah, thanks, Morgan. It was great to finally meet you after a couple of years of corresponding on YouTube and finally getting you out here. This is really cool. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, great host, and I learned a lot. I learned so much, so thank you so much. And thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Coyote Works out.